Now, to many, they're a harmless pastime, but computer games can also be addictive and occasionally dangerous.
Well, we've spoken about their addictive effects on the show before, but now the NHS has launched the first publicly funded clinic dedicated to internet and gaming disorders.
Well, the clinic was founded by addiction specialist Dr Henrietta Bowden-Jones. We'll be talking to her about that in just a moment. First, we're joined by Lysa Martin and her 16-year-old son, Romario, who know about the hugely disruptive effects gaming addiction can have on a family. And welcome. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for coming in today. So have you always been a gaming family? Because you've got 5 boys,
I've got 5 boys, 1 daughter, yeah.
And so what are their ages?
So my eldest is 22, 19, 16, 7, 10, 7 and 4.
10, 7 and 4, right. And so, I mean, you know, they've always been gamers, they've always played all along. So sort of just fill us in on how many hours we're talking here. So if it was a weekday...
So a weekday, we're probably looking at like 5 to 6 hours.
OK, so that's after school when they're coming in?
after school, straight in, uniform not off, straight on the game.
And straight on it. And in a weekend then, when they've got time?
Weekend, 10 hours plus.
Really? OK, so this is a lot of hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours.
What games are you playing?
FIFA, Fortnite, that's about it.
And so for you, what do you get out of it?
Just the satisfaction, really.
Competition?
Yeah, between my friends, other people online across the world,
And do you ever feel, I've been on this a long time?
Yeah, there's times, my eyes, they're like, they're red, they're hurting. But because sometimes I play with my friend, like, across the world. He's in, like, Dubai, so I play with him. And then, like, he's up later than me because it's obviously different time.
So you just get caught up.
So some of the problems that you're experiencing as a mum, looking after these kids, it tends to happen when it's time to turn the console off. So what happens? What have you noticed?
So it's either time for bed or time for dinner. Selective hearing, they don't hear me. So it's like, I'm coming, Mum, I'm coming, I'll be off in a minute, and then they can't pause the game because it's live. So
things like Fortnite, you're in a game, you can't just come out
you can't
of it.
just sort of pause it and then come off the game. So then the temper tantrums, the screaming, the shouting, doors slamming.
And it's the anger. It's the anger that you're not.
Yeah, it does. It brings out a certain anger that it's like, wow, a game can actually make you this upset.
What makes you angry, Romario?
Just the fact that you come so close to winning a game, FIFA, Fortnite, and then just stupid little mistakes that happen, and then that.
And so, how have you reacted? What have you done in your anger?
This is obviously in the past when Fortnite was like very new. I punched a wall, and like obviously a hole, and then anything that's near me.
Is it affecting your schoolwork? Because I imagine if you're coming home from school and you're sitting there on it, you're not doing your homework. I know you've got your GCSEs coming up this year, and if you're going to bed late, that's going to have an impact the next day. Do you notice it at school?
Yeah, of course. This probably occurred more in like last year maybe, but as of now, I've noticed now that obviously GCSEs are coming up. I have to be more serious, so I'm not on it as much now.
Well, that's good to hear.
What about your brother?
Rion.
My younger brother. He's
OK. So tell me about him.
He's terrible. He's as soon as I come home, because when I'm coming home, he's already hitting, and then like he has his uniform on still. He's on it constantly, screaming. Yeah. And he says that his Wi-Fi is probably worse in like where he is in the room, and like he's lagging. They call it, and then he goes ballistic.
So we're listening to this, and there'll be people watching this and going, "Well, your mum switched the Wi-Fi off. Just turn the console off.
It is a little bit bittersweet because as much as I moan about them being on the game, they're in the comfort of their own home. I know where they are. I would rather them be at home playing the game than out on the street, not knowing where they are.
So is that more of the issue here? Is that actually because the outside world is not safe?
It's not safe.
You would rather them be sat
at home with a console with a controller in their hand, playing a game, and they still get to communicate with their friends. They still sort of have a social life because they all meet up in a room and party and do what they've got to do on the game. So,
is there a compromise? Do you see in your head with? If you were to sit down and talk with your brother and say, right, OK, the compromise is we agree that, you know, we've got schoolwork, we agree that we're not necessarily interacting with the family that much, that we're up here too much. OK, Mum, you can turn it off for a couple of hours between this time and this time. You can turn the Wi-Fi off between this time and this time. Is there a compromise there to be had?
Well, yeah, I guess I could see that, but him, on the other hand, he's more... he sees very narrow-minded. He just sees the game as his happiness at the time. So I don't know if...
You don't think he'd go for a compromise?
No,
I don't.
I definitely don't think so. It's just, it's not fair. That's all you get. It's not fair. My friends are doing it. It's not fair. But it is a problem. It is definitely a problem.
Well, Henrietta, I mean, you founded the first NHS Centre for Internet Gaming Disorders. That opened in December 2019. How many referrals have you had?
We've had 43, I checked last night, 43 people wanting to come. 22 have filled in referral forms. Many of those have been seen and are now in treatment or waiting to be treated. The interesting thing about starting a new clinic, a publicly funded clinic, is that you really don't know what to expect. And 12 years ago, I started the first NHS problem gambling clinic, and I thought I might be giving it an afternoon of my time a week. And we've had thousands and thousands and thousands of referrals. We've got an enormous national problem gambling clinic. Now, I hope this is not going to be the same situation. I sincerely hope the numbers will be lower and coming through steadily. What we are seeing are boys, really. They tend to be teenage boys, and many of the things you've mentioned today are indeed the things being reported. One of the most surprising ones was the fact that so much aggression, indeed some violence, is manifested in children who have always been kind and considerate to their parents.
So what is your advice then? Because you're saying, you know, this is kind of a classic situation that you might see in your clinic. What would you say if these boys walked in and they were one of your patients?
So the first thing to say, and it's really important to hear this message, an addiction is a very serious situation where an individual has lost control of their behaviour and is suffering extremely negative consequences, be it on their health, on their emotional, psychological well-being, on their financial side if they're gamblers. But in this case, I would say that, you know, a lot of the population is gaming. And I would say that when people talk about all young people are addicted to gaming, that's certainly not the case. There are many young people who enjoy gaming. There'll be a very small percentage who are displaying what we can say are loss of control, negative consequences, such as dropping grades at school. We see that a lot. People absolutely focus on the game and no longer exhibit their competitiveness within an academic environment. Now, that is possible to switch. You know, behavioural addictions can be treated very well in the right context with people who understand it.
Is that what you use?
It's talking therapy. We do not use medication. And that's important for parents who may be listening to us today, because I would imagine there might be some concern. Will my young child be medicated? No. So the treatment is available and you can come face-to-face or indeed call us or do it on Skype.
So what would you say, just difficult to do in just a few seconds, but what would you say to this family or to any other mums and dads who are watching now are thinking this is exactly what's going to happen in my house tonight when the kids
OK, very simple. Come and see me. I can help. It doesn't have to be so extreme that someone's dropped out of school. And by the way, we see those people too. You can come when you feel this is bigger than you. Your family is suffering. You want some boundaries. You want some help.
Is there a compromise to be had tonight when they go home tonight with the younger brother who's going to come in and going to kick off if you can't play?
Yeah, definitely.
I will say something else in terms of the advice. We also see quite a few people who have other issues going on. So whereas it's potentially easier to set boundaries and get some order within the family life, if someone is only gaming because they're missing their friends or they're not allowed out and they want to be online, there are people who might be having severe anxiety issues or who are being bullied and can't leave the house. Low self-esteem, autistic spectrum disorder. There are all sorts of things that we are seeing and that may be impacting on the way we handle the situation. So rather than give you since it's a national clinic, we can deal with everything, but we like to see the family and learn about the family before we give advice. What I will say is for most addictions, you need to stop the behaviour. That's, absolutely the case. Otherwise, you will quickly return to the levels of harmful activity. With gaming, it's different. A lot of young people are able to control the gaming to a lower degree in order not to miss out on their social interactions.
Understood. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you. Send our love to your family as well.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with the GCSEs this year.